Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to a celebration of the 248th United States Marine Corps birthday, hosted by the Marines Memorial Association and Foundation. We would like to thank the Marines from the 3rd Marine Airwing Brass Quintet, Marine Corps Air Station Miramar, California, for providing this evening's ceremonial music, as well as the Marines of 23rd Marine Regiment, San Bruno, California, who will execute the duties of our ceremonial detail. As you enter and exit the Marines Memorial Theater this evening, you will observe an illuminated table that has been prepared in honor of our fallen comrades. It symbolizes the valiant sacrifices of our Marine Corps Navy team. Tonight, we pay special tribute to the members of our Marine Corps family who were taken from us. Their sacrifices and the sacrifices of their families help preserve our nation's freedom and enable millions of our citizens to enjoy the American dream. We stand free today because of them. Ladies and gentlemen, please join in a moment of silence as we pause to honor those brave men and women who have given their lives in the service of our country. Thank you. Each year, the Commandant of the Marine Corps provides a message of inspiration and camaraderie for all Marines, past and present, to help celebrate our glorious Corps. Ladies and gentlemen, a message from the Commandant of the Marine Corps, General Eric Smith, and the Sergeant Major of the Marine Corps, Sergeant Major Carlos A. Ruiz.
To this day, young men and women choose to raise their right hand and swear an oath to something greater than themselves.
I was gonna die with my boots on. Let's do it.
Combat is ugly.
You see, I don't like this. You know, I got a flashlight. He's gone. How you know? He was laying. Because he was laying right there. He's not there no more. He was laying up. I shot him like 5 times when I came back.
If you think combat is great, then you haven't been there.
So we were taking fire all day long. Lieutenant Calvin bent over to grab his radio. A tracer round came through the left armhole of his flak jacket and out the right armhole. It just barely penetrated the skin. Crazy thing was that when he was a young enlisted Marine, he got a tattoo on his back that said Marine. The tracer underlined the word Marine. That's the kind of story that people won't believe unless you show it to them.
I've been shot a few times and blown up and stabbed. I owe my life to Navy corpsmen. Those are unsung heroes.
When you're in a battle and you're wounded, but you know you can still pull a trigger, the thing that keeps you going is the man to your left and the man to your right.
Since its birth, the Marine Corps has sought to find those exceptional individuals who embody the qualities of toughness, grit, honor, courage, and commitment. Qualities required of a professional warfighting force that is not only capable, but willing to do the hard things on behalf of the nation.
Victory in every climb and place does not happen by chance. From the unforgiving jungles of the South Pacific, to the snow-covered mountains of Korea, to the bloody streets of Hue and Fallujah, Marines have prevailed because they had moral courage, steel backbones, and a ruthless commitment to a tradition of excellence.
And with preparation comes confidence. The more prepared you are, the more you rehearse, the more you drill, the more confident you get. And so we're ready to go.
The Marine Standard is the only standard, and discipline is the currency of our Corps. This is the bedrock of our ethos, and what makes us unique from any other fighting force in the world.
Discipline and being lethal, I see it every single day, from the fire team to the squad to the platoon level, when the Marines are running up recon, running through the load trail, going to the dojo, making themselves more lethal and fit. And that directly correlates to when we go do, ranges 400 or do a company cliff assault. That's only going to continue to bleed on when they go overseas and take care of business.
Today, we continue to prepare for the next fight. And while the faces, weapons, and formations are new, the fighting spirit of the individual Marine has never changed. When the nation calls and the orders given to send in the Marines, every friend and every foe understands that help or destruction is on the way.
Right now we have more capabilities than we ever had in the past, from weapon systems, platforms, and technology to able to be lighter and faster and more lethal.
As Marines, we do not decide when the next fight will come, but we do decide who wins.
The Marines who came before have paved the way. They prevailed against all odds, in the face of unimaginable hardship, and yet they kept their humanity. They kept their honor clean.
The character of war will change, the battlefield will evolve, and the equipment will modernize. But the warrior ethos of our Corps stands firm. We do not simply say that we're first to fight. We work hard every day to prove it.
To our adversaries, I would say if you see that U.S. Marines and you see that MARPAD, I would say you better stand by. Because if you don't think these Marines are working every single day to better their craft and skills, you got another thing coming. Because these Marines aren't going to stop until the mission is accomplished and you're destroyed.
It's funny when you're a Lance Corporal and you got combat action, Navy Unit Commendation, Marine Corps Expeditionary Medal, and a Sea Service, and they look at you like, where have you been? Nowhere. I just went where the Marine Corps sent me.
We are people who are dedicated to the service to others. If there's somebody that's in trouble, a Marine is not going to turn and walk away. They're going to do whatever's necessary, to the point of giving their life.
Admiral Chester Nimitz said about Iwo Jima, uncommon valor was a common virtue. The stories I hear at reunions should be on Silver Star citations.
The Marine Corps history is very important, and I'm glad that it's still being taught. I'm glad that my fellow Marines that didn't come back are being remembered, are being discussed in squad bays till this day.
Marines are tough. I think there's something about a young man or young woman who comes into the Marine Corps that they perhaps were born with and didn't even know it.
You can do it. You can do it all. You are capable more than you think, and there are so many people in the Marine Corps who want to enable that. You're now fighting for your brothers and sisters.
What was common then, and from what I can tell, what's common now, is the camaraderie. You watch my back, I'll watch your back. Don't want to let people down on either side of you.
There's no better thing than camaraderie and talking through it and sharing certain pieces with individuals, because it creates a bond that is unbreakable.
Everybody wants to be a champion. Everybody really wants to be part of the best.
Marines, you are the strength of our Corps.
And your actions determine the fate of millions of future warriors and their ability to stand on your shoulders. I know that you're ready.
As we come together to celebrate our 248th birthday, I encourage every Marine to reflect on our history and think about the moment when you ask yourself, do I have what it takes? You are on the journey that few have dared to begin.
Take pride in what you represent. You are the pinnacle of professional warriors and the model for others to follow. Sergeant Major Ruiz and I are proud to stand among you, and we'll be with you every step of the way. Happy birthday, Marines, and Semper Fidelis.
We're Marines till we die. And we require a 2-week notice for that.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the invocation, which will be delivered by Colonel John C. McKay, United States Marine Corps, retired.
Allow us to pray. Holy Father, we invoke your blessed Spirit amongst us this evening. The people walking in darkness have seen a great light. On those living in the land of deep darkness, a light has dawned. O Lord, you have indeed brought light into the hearts and minds of all Marines, as well as in those of our fellow comrades in arms. The joy we feel tonight as we gather around these tables is but a taste of the goodness with which our lives are blessed. We thank you in this moment for the gifts of food and friendship, for the work you enable us to do, and for the times of rest that refresh us. We are grateful for the promise of the season that the season holds, and we pray for those in our military families who will find merriment difficult this year, for those who are grieving the loss of loved ones, exemplified by Gold Star families, for those who are separated by deployments away from friends and family, and for those still carrying around the wounds of war, visible or invisible. Bless us all, we pray, not with presents and packages wrapped in bows and ribbons, nor with the artificialities of superficiality, but by answering the deepest longings of our hearts. We pray that the promise of peace on earth, goodwill amongst us all, will come to pass, and that it will come at least in a small way because of the work we do and for the people we are. Amen.
Please be seated. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and CEO of the Marines Memorial Association and Foundation, Lieutenant General Michael A. Rocco, United States Marine Corps.
Good evening, everyone. How are we doing tonight? How are we doing tonight? Okay, that's nice. Well, hey, thank you very much, and for everyone to be here celebrating our 248th birthday. Thank you for being here and taking the time out to be with us. But this just doesn't happen. We just don't come in here, turn on the lights, and off we go. I've got a few people to thank before we get to the ceremony and the guest of honor and our chairman. First off, the team. the team here, and you see them running around. I see Judy in the back, and of course, I'll get to Michael in a second, but the staff that's downstairs. Let's give the team here at the Marines Memorial, it's a full hand. I mention it every time I speak, for those of you who come to the speaker series and come to the birthdays, but the heart and soul of this place, our general manager, CFO, cook, banquet, everything, dog walker, Michael Allen. Michael, another wonderful job. We love you. And when we get down to the details and how we do it, been fortunate enough, I want to thank Vooch, Colonel Krista Vooch, United States Marine Corps retired, Vooch, and Ramiro and their teams for what they do on the details. And also, if you've got a complaint about your table, music's too loud, whatever it is, go see them. But a round of applause for those folks. How many of you attended the parades at the Marine Barracks in Washington, D.C.? A few of you? Yeah. We've got Pete Wilson behind us. Does the voice sound familiar? The voice of the barracks. Pete, thank you very much for being part of this. He's now here in San Francisco. He is, as I cut my teeth as a young general officer, he was in the barracks, and he is the voice. He's an absolute professional musician, and just an all-around great guy. But a round of applause for Pete. All right, and our guest of honor. Our guest of honor. So we've got Lieutenant General Dave Ottignon and his beautiful wife Diana. They came all the way from North Carolina to be with us today because it's that important. Dave and I go, and the four of us, between Susan and Diana, Dave and I, we go back many, many years. Every guest of honor is special. Dave, again, Lieutenant General, and if that's not impressive enough, and he's got a beautiful wife, if that's not impressive enough, Dave, the Marine Corps fights at a certain level. It's called the MEF. The Marine Corps has 3 MEFs. One in Okinawa, one at Camp Pendleton, and one at Camp Lejeune. There are only 3 3-star warfighters in the Marine Corps. And one of them is here tonight. His MEF, 2 MEF, is on the East Coast. And if you turn on your TV, you know exactly what's going on in the world. Extremely busy man. His staffers are extremely busy. His Marines are extremely busy. The families are extremely anxious. So it is absolutely special to have Dave and Diana to take the time to come out here and spend it with us. That's how important the Marines Memorial is to the Marine Corps. That's how important the Marines Memorial is to Dave, who also is a Stanford grad. When you talk to him, you know, he'll tell you in 5 minutes he's from Stanford, but that's kind of a Stanford thing. But anyway, it's wonderful to have. So again, thank you very much, and we'll do proper introductions for him later on. But again, everyone, 248th birthday, thank you for being here today. Thank you for celebrating us. Happy birthday, Marines.
Detail, attention, carry, sword.
Sound, adjutant call.
Forward, march.
Ladies and gentlemen, our guest of honor this evening is the Commanding General of the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force, Lieutenant General David A. Ottignon. Escorting our guest of honor this evening is the Chairman of the Board of the Marines Memorial Association, Lieutenant General Edward Hanlon Jr., United States Marine Corps retired. Please rise for honors. Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the presentation of the colors.
Present. Sword. Forward. March. Detail. Halt. Present. Color.
Ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
Order. Colors. Order. Sword.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Forward. Right.
On November 1st, 1921, Lieutenant General John A. LtGen, 13th Commandant of the Marine Corps, directed that a reminder of the honorable service of the Corps be published by every command to all Marines around the globe on the birthday of the Corps. Since that day, Marines have continued to distinguish themselves on many battlefields and foreign shores, in war and peace. On this birthday of the Corps, therefore, in compliance with the will of our 13th Commandant, Article 38 of the Marine Corps Manual, edition of 1921, is republished as follows.
On November 10, 1775, a Corps of Marines was created by a resolution of Continental Congress. Since that date, many thousand men have borne the name Marine. In memory of them, it is fitting that we, who are Marines, should commemorate the birthday of our Corps by calling to mind the glories of its long and illustrious history. The record of our Corps is one which will bear comparison with that of the most famous military organizations in the world's history. During 90 of the 146 years of its existence, the Marine Corps has been in action against the nation's foes. From the Battle of Trenton to the Argonne, Marines have won foremost honors in war. And in the long eras of tranquility at home, generation after generation of Marines have grown gray in war in both hemispheres and in every corner of the 7 seas, that our country and its citizens might enjoy peace and security. In every battle and skirmish since the birth of our Corps, Marines have acquitted themselves with the greatest distinction, winning new honors on each occasion until the term Marine has come to signify all that is highest in military efficiency and soldierly virtue. This high name of distinction and soldierly repute, we who are Marines today have received from those who preceded us in the Corps. With it, we have also received from them the eternal spirit which has animated our Corps from generation to generation and has been the distinguishing mark of the Marines in every age. So long as that spirit continues to flourish, Marines will be found equal to every emergency in the future, as they have been in the past, and the men of our nation will regard us as worthy successors to the long line of illustrious men who have served as soldiers of the sea since the founding of the Corps. Signed, John A. LtGen, Major General, United States Marine Corps, 13th Commandant of the Marine Corps.
This timeless and inspiring message of our 13th Commandant has left its mark in the hearts and minds of Marines. By deed and act, from Belleau Wood to the Argonne, from Guadalcanal to Iwo Jima, from Incheon to the Korean Armistice, in interventions from Lebanon to the Dominican Republic, from the opening battles in Vietnam to Grenada, Panama, and Kuwait, and from operations in Somalia and Kosovo to this century's longest wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, Marines have continued to epitomize those qualities which are their legacy. The success they have achieved in combat and the faith they have borne in peace will endure. The Commandant and our many friends have added their hearty praise and congratulations on this, our 248th birthday. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of the traditional Marine Corps birthday cake. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
All right, right.
The Marine Corps birthday cake cutting ceremony is important to all Marines, as it is an annual renewal of each Marine's commitment to the Corps and the Corps' commitment to our nation's quest for peace and freedom worldwide. The birthday cake is traditionally cut with the Mameluke sword, as a reminder that we are a band of warriors committed to carrying the sword so that our nation may live in peace. As is our custom, the first piece of cake will be presented to our guest of honor, Lieutenant General David A. Ottignon. By tradition, the next piece of cake is presented to the oldest Marine in attendance as a sign of honor and respect accorded to experience and seniority. This evening, our oldest Marine is Korean War veteran and Navy Cross recipient, Chief Warrant Officer 4 Harry McGowan, who enlisted in the Marine Corps in 1947, a native of Orange, New Jersey. Chief Warrant Officer McGowan was born on 27 August 1930. For 248 years, our experienced Marines have nurtured and led young Marines to fill our ranks and renew our Corps. As the oldest Marine, Chief Warrant Officer McGowan passes this piece of cake to the youngest Marine, symbolizing the passing of wisdom, knowledge, and experience, as well as trust and confidence in those who will carry on our Marine Corps traditions in the future. This evening, our youngest Marine is Corporal Eric F. Carranza Flores, who enlisted in the Marine Corps on 13 October 2020 and reported for duty with Echo Company, 2nd Battalion, 23rd Marine Regiment in San Bruno, California. A native of Pittsburgh, California, Corporal Carranza Flores was born on 24 September 2002. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the retirement of the colors and the departure of the official party.
Harry, color, present, sword. Left turn, march.
ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. And now please welcome the chairman of the Marines Memorial Association, Lieutenant General Edward Hanlon, Jr.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Master Gunnery Sergeant Wilson. Great to have you with us again. Well, good evening. I mean, General Rocco has spoken to all of you and welcomed you here for our 248th celebration of our birthday. But I want to particularly thank all of you for attending, as this is your house. A place here in the Bay Area to remember the legacy of the Corps, and it's your support that helps guarantee we will be able to do this every year here in your house. So in the 77 years since Marines Memorial was founded here in San Francisco, save for the COVID years, there has been a birthday celebration, a birthday ball every year. As chairman, like General Rocco, I also want to thank the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing Band and those splendid Marines of the 23rd Regiment for their support. Simply outstanding. And again, General Rocco mentioned it, but to our MMA staff, the men and women who worked so hard to make this a first-class event for all of us this evening, and to whom we owe so much. Simply awesome. We are so proud of them and thankful for their being part of this team. I also want to wish our Commandant, General Eric Smith, who as ACMAC was our guest last year, a speedy recovery from a recent health event. All reports point to a full recovery, and we certainly need him back running our Corps. He is a dear friend, and he is our Commandant. And this evening, a special tribute. This past week in Tucson, Arizona, Lieutenant General Robert Bob Johnston was laid to rest after a prolonged illness. He was a former chairman of MMA and chairman board emeritus. General Johnston was a superb combat leader and a leader in time of peace, a loving and dedicated husband and a terrific father. He was, to use the saying from Central Casting, he looked, acted, dressed, and led as the perfect Marine and consummate gentleman. In top-notch physical condition from second lieutenant to retired lieutenant general. I know I tried to keep up with him a couple times. He didn't need to look or act tough. All he had to do was walk in the room. He was a role model for all of us to emulate. We will miss him. General, you will indeed be missed, but never forgotten. Now, to this evening. Marines, of course, love a party. And we particularly love this particular party as Marines worldwide, on or about 10 November, will pause and execute the ceremony witnessed here this evening. In my own career, I witnessed and participated in birthday celebrations on a fire base in Vietnam, along the DMZ in Korea in the midst of a training exercise on a really cold night, deployed on ships at sea on 2 occasions, in the base camp in Kosovo, in places such as London, Paris, Lawton, Oklahoma, Naples, Bucharest, Bern, Oslo, Madrid, and Rome, not to mention Washington, Camp Pendleton, Lawton, Oklahoma, 2 Indian casinos, and Quantico, where I attended my first one in HMX-1 hangar as a second lieutenant. And tonight, please know we have Marines deployed in harm's way and in remote parts of the globe. And I have no doubt they will have their birthday as we did here this evening. And I have no doubt our guest of honor will comment about that in a few minutes himself. The venue, though, is not what counts. It's why we do this that counts, and the fact that the ceremony remains essentially the same in every venue. We do it to remember that commitment made in 1775 in a tavern in Philadelphia, in which the Corps dedicated itself to service and protection of the nation and its citizens and all that we stand for. We do it to remember the sacrifices and challenging moments in our nation's history, where the Marine Corps helped ensure that our freedoms would remain intact. And we do it to honor those who serve on active duty, serve in the reserve, retired Marines who gave a career of service, former Marines who served our nation in war and peace, and of course those Marines who have passed on, but remained a benchmark for all of us to emulate. There is just one word, Marine, that describes all that I just mentioned. And we also remember and thank profusely the spouses and families of Marines whose own sacrifices and their unwavering support which allowed us to do our jobs. They are remarkable. We could not have done it without them, and I am speaking from personal experience. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you our guest of honor. Lieutenant General Dave Ottignon currently commands the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Force in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, as General Rocco mentioned. It is one of the Corps' major combat formations. The General is a combat engineer by training and education, but his experience across the spectrum is deep and impressive. His journey to this assignment at 2.5 saw him serve in a plethora of engineer assignments at the battalion, at the group, Marine Wing Support Group, and as commanding general of the 1st Marine Logistics Group of 1MEF down at Camp Pendleton. He served in Recruit Training Regiment, MCRD San Diego, served as a Marine officer instructor at Rochester University, as military assistant to the Secretary of the Navy, as the Inspector General of the Marine Corps, as Director of Manpower Management, and as Deputy Commandant for Manpower and Reserve Affairs. He was the Deputy Executive Assistant to the Commander, U.S. Pacific Command in Honolulu, and Deputy Operations Director for U.S. European Command in Stuttgart. His joint experience is impressive. He is a combat veteran of Iraqi freedom and deployed in major contingencies in Somalia and the Philippines. He is a graduate of the Army Advanced Engineer Course, Navy Command Staff College, and a former CMC National Security Fellow at the Hoover Institute at Stanford University, again, as General Rocco mentioned. What this all means, ladies and gentlemen, is that he has had a remarkable career and served throughout the Fleet Marine Forces, excelled as an engineer and logistician, was given prestigious assignments in higher service and joint headquarters, been in combat, been an advisor to commandants, and continues to lead U.S. Marines. That is about as good as it gets. Thank you, General, for being with us this evening. It's my privilege to introduce to you Lieutenant General David Ottignon.
Can you hear me? Yes? Good? We on? Good evening. Everybody awake? Yeah. Happy birthday, Marines. There we go. We're awake. Very, very good. Thank you so much for the warm invitation and to be here this evening with you all and the Marines Memorial. I can't think of any greater place to be for the birthday. I have fond memories of this club and this hotel and this event here tonight, and I was so honored when my mentor asked, directed, come out here and be present, and I said, yes, sir, I will be right on the first one. So it's wonderful to be here. One more great round of applause for the band out there. Just awesome. It's great to see you all again, and thanks for being here as well. Appreciate you so much. I always love this event. I always love to see the videos that are put together, and this year was no different, right? So phenomenal, just a visual blast of what we're about in this past year and some of our history. But you really have to take a minute and just step back and recognize some of the real key milestones that are hit here. 80 years ago was the Battle of Tarawa, and that is the famous battle for the 2nd Marine Division, and Julian C. Smith, who led that division. It was one of the bloodiest battles in the early part of World War II. And there was this gentleman named Colonel David Shute, who was a staff officer in the division, who days before the invasion takes command of the 2nd Marine Regiment from Colonel Marshall and lands across the shore, across the coral reef and into the atoll. And it was an iconic battle. The admiral who was a part of the Japanese garrison was famous for saying, not 1,000,000 men or 100 years could this island be taken. And the Marine Corps secured it in 3 days at a cost. 3,400 casualties on the U.S. side. 4,800 deaths from the Japanese, only 17 survivors. And I think about that, and I watch that video, and you see the seawall, and you think of those Marines. And Colonel Shute was wounded on the first day and continues to fight, and his words are etched in our museum in Quantico, and they're very famous, and I know you know them. Casualties, many on his report. Percentage of KIA, unknown. Combat efficiency, we are winning. It's remarkable history there. And Colonel Shoup would go on to be the Chief of Staff. He would command the 3rd Marine Division. He would go on to command at MCRD Paris Island, become the IG of the Marine Corps, which I cannot believe when I saw that. And then as a Major General, be selected to be the 22nd Commandant of the Marine Corps. Just amazing history. And then you watch a little more in here, right? You see Jack Riley, who won the Silver Star, 1967, 3rd Battalion, 9th Marines in the Quai Province. And it's Getlin's Corner, Captain Getlin. Getlin's Corner is an iconic battle, lasted about 6 hours, but it produced a Medal of Honor winner and a Lieutenant Bobo, 4 Navy Crosses, 7 Silver Stars, to include Jack's, who was issued to his in July of this year by our Commandant, 55 years later. It's amazing when you see that. Now you put the perspective of what he's saying and when he looks at you and he talks about his experiences. And then 20 years ago, in March, we crossed into Iraq. And about 2 weeks later, we were in Baghdad. And you see Eddie Ray. Eddie Ray won the Navy Cross with 1st LAR back in the Desert Storm. And in March of 24 March in 2003, on the 3rd day, breaks through a town called Nasiriyah. And Nasiriyah was important to us on the march to Baghdad. There were 2 bridges that we needed to secure on the east side, and it was known as Ambush Alley, and it was bloody. And Eddie Ray, with 2nd Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion, punches a hole through Ambush Alley. And then Lieutenant Colonel Lou Cropperata, commanding 3rd Battalion, 1st Marines, holds the door open for 2nd MEB to punch through. And it's just a quick piece that you can see these gentlemen who talk about their experiences. And it's just remarkable. And so the history's there, and you think about today we have roughly 202,000 Marines. We have our great Marines from 23rd Marine Regiment here in San Bruno who represent our reserve component, our total force. There's about 172,000 Marines on active duty. 60% of that force is in the operating forces. And more than 30,000 Marines are forward deployed. So as mentioned tonight we have Marines that are in the Pacific. They're in Japan. They're back into the Philippines. We're in Australia. And in my area of responsibility, we have Major General Cal Worth and the 2nd Marine Division staff aboard the USS Mount Whitney. And they're forward with the Joint Task Force in the Eastern Mediterranean. I also have Brigadier General Drew Priddy and the 2nd Marine Expeditionary Brigade, also forward, operating out of Naples, who is responsible for an expeditionary strike group. So our Marines are forward deployed, doing exactly what we would want to do, that you would want your Marines to be ready and do for this great nation. So I think it's very fitting that, on an evening like tonight, we take pause and we recognize all the lineage of history and what's happening in our world tonight. And, we love to tell sea stories on these events, right? And I've got sea stories, and you have sea stories. Let me share just a couple with you. Several weeks ago, I went out to see Gulf Battery, 2nd Battalion, 10th Marines. And there's some artillery officers in here, and I know they're all going to get excited because we were out looking at cannon. But let me just see if I can put the word picture for you. So I went out to see these Marines. They'd been out in the field for about a week. They were smelly and dirty, as you would expect. I mean, they were filthy. And I went to one gun position inside LZ Egret, which is right off by the Intercoastal Waterway. And they were firing rounds. They've been firing rounds that were part of a large exercise from the entire 10th Marine Regiment that had batteries and battalions in Fort Liberty, as well as one in Camp Lejeune. And I met this young man. His name was Sergeant Ed Bellarosen. And I just call him Sergeant Bell. I mean, his last name was worse than Ottignon to pronounce. And Sergeant Bell, I walked up. He was from the Dominican Republic. And he had 8 Marines and 1 corpsman standing in front of his gun, in his gun position. And I walked up, and Sergeant Bell went through each Marine wanted me to introduce all of them to me with great detail, where they were from, what their strengths were, how long they'd been together. And he stops on 2 brand new PFCs, and they are standing at attention, and he is telling me about these young Marines, where they're from, what his aspirations are for them, what their strengths are, where he sees them placed inside the gun team. And then he finishes with his corpsman, who had just transferred from 3rd Battalion, 6th Marines. Been with the gun probably, I don't know, a couple of weeks minimum, maximum. And he knew everything about the dock. And it occurred to me, as I sat and listened to him, I was looking at the Marine Corps, at the essence of the Marine Corps that was represented to all the history that you see, to what we expect today by this young sergeant who was leading. He's only been a sergeant for 6 months, and he's responsible for putting rounds on target. And it was remarkable. And it made me stop and go, we are in good stead with these young Marines that we serve with. And then I met this young woman, this young Lance Corporal. Her name was Lance Corporal Rosaros. And she was from Dallas, Texas. And she's a Cowboy fan, and I didn't hold it against her. I'm a Jet fan, and it was a little rough going there for the first 30 seconds of our engagement. But she was a part of the Combat Logistics Regiment. And she was a part of this team that was looking at technologies and how to advance technologies into the future fight. And she had our normal kit on, except hers was unique. And on her kit, she had 2 iPhones that flipped down here on her chest. She had antennas on the back that came up that were strange and not unique to me. I didn't recognize them. A lithium battery pack on her side, on her hip. And the only thing I recognized that was normal to me was a boot band that held one antenna close to her backside of her Kevlar so it wouldn't whack her in the back of the head when she was moving. She looked like something out of the future. She literally looked like something out of the future. She had this cable that ran down her blouse that went to her arm that she could push on a keypad. Sergeant Dave Wilson that you saw, my Sergeant Major here, he called it the doodad. He goes, General, you gotta look at the doodad. And I'm looking at her, and she's punching in communications off her sleeve. She's got all comms in her ears, and she is a walking command and control node at the ripe age of 19 years old. And I said, what do you do? What is this? And she flips down her phone, and she can see the battle space. She can direct movements on the battle space. She can talk to organizations and units through a satellite link on the move. And I went, you represent the future. You are absolutely what I think I see for the future of the Marine Corps. And the technology and the ability to put it inside the hands of young Marines, and they will take it forward, and they will be absolutely successful on the battlefield. And then the last thing I would say is I met young PFC Bill Caitman from Rochester, New York on Thursday. I went to a ceremony, just like you saw here, from one of the battalions at Camp Lejeune that took time out of their training schedule to have a ceremony to cut a cake. And these men and women sat around. It wasn't quite as formal, didn't have a band out there, but they went through their ceremony. And I met Bill Caitman. All right, this young man was born in, 2002? Okay, so Bill, get this one, was born in October of 2005. He enlisted when he was 17 years old. He was 18 years old when he was getting his piece of cake. He had a waist on him that was maybe, if it was 26 inches, I'd be surprised. He was the typical young, thin Marine right out of boot camp, been with this organization for less than a month. And here he is, receiving a piece of cake from a master gunnery sergeant who had been in the Marine Corps nearly 30 years. And you go over and you ask Bill, and you ask PFC Caitman, Bill, you know, what do you think? And he said, sir, I joined the Marine Corps. I wanted to make my family proud. And I want to make my leaders in my battalion proud. I just want to do my bit. Holy cow. if that's not a representation of the future of the Marines, the men and women that join our service, that serve this great nation with purpose, and the greatest fighting organization that is on this planet, I don't know what is. It's remarkable. And so I share those stories with you, and I look forward to hearing your stories tonight. But when we celebrate a birthday for 248 years, I think of Marines. I think of those forward. I clearly think, and as you do, as it was mentioned, I think of the Marines that we've lost. I go down to the 10th floor and I want to go see the names, and I want to make sure they're there. Touch them real quick. And never forget on this day. Let me close with this. I want to extend a huge thank you to you, our spouses, our friends, our community, our aunts and uncles, all those that are here tonight, and maybe not with us, maybe in their hometowns, that support those young Marines. I want to thank our sailors, our corpsmen that serve with us, that take a piece of cake with us because they embody the same honor, courage, and commitment as a part of the Marine Corps. And I want to say thank you because there's no way this organization thrives the way it has for 248 years without your love and support. You don't get there without you. And so thank you for that. Thank you for your loyalty to the Marine Corps, your patriotism, this wonderful community in San Francisco that holds up this club and this Memorial Hotel that comes and celebrates with us this great, great birthday of ours. Thank you. And so with that, I look forward to seeing you tonight. I look forward to having a wonderful time here. I want the energy to go up just a little bit. There it is. I was told that there's a bar upstairs with this being pumped into, and if I'm looking at you in the camera, you better be fired up when we come up there. I don't want to see any slackers when I come up there. Best to you. I look forward to seeing you all tonight. Semper Fidelis.
Testing. General, thank you for those comments. And again, thank you for being here. We know there's a great demand on your time on the East Coast, and you honor us by being here. All right. We have something we would like to present to you for you taking the time to come out here and spend the weekend with us. I'm going to give the microphone to Mike Rocco here. He'll tell you a little bit about it.
All right, thank you. So what we have here is a historical cover of the Leatherneck magazine, and it's signed to our guest of honor, 248th birthday, Lieutenant General David A. Ottignon. But what's so special about it is it's signed by Congressional Medal of Honor winner Mitchell Page. We've had that, and we present that to you as a little memento. Diana, we expect this to go find a nice place in the house for this. In the dining room. It's not an artillery shell or a shovel or whatever combat engineers use, but it's absolutely from the heart, and it's a way of saying thank you for spending the time with us.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of Anchors Away and the Marines Hymn. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, the President and CEO of the Marines Memorial Association and Foundation, Lieutenant General Michael Lucca.
Thank you. All right, we're just about ready. Please grab a seat. Not ready to get the party started just yet, but we will. All right, well, thank you. What an incredible night. Again, I want to thank the 23rd Marines. Absolutely incredible job. I was down at Miramar as the guest of honor at the 3rd Mob Ball last week, and best band in the land was there. Thank you very much. Absolutely fantastic. You always impress. For the folks up in the bar, we're almost there. Have a great time. And for those of you, I know the Marines know this, and certainly the spouses know this. The Marine Corps is special. It's a special family. And some might call it brainwashing. Some might call it all sorts of things. But I've got a little, I don't say challenge, but for those of you who've never seen our ceremony, who's never seen the Marines and how we celebrate the cake, the symbology in reading General Lejeune's message, the symbology of passing the cake from the oldest to the youngest, that passage of knowledge. And General Ottignon, Dave did a great job of putting that into action, into the everyday events of, again, describing that sergeant, that young PFC, and that passing of that knowledge that we do every day. That's the symbolism of that we do, that it really is our secret sauce. It's not about what we fly, it's not about the equipment, it's about the Marine. And I would offer, again, an intangible thing, what makes us different. And I realize we have other services out there, but I would ask you to, and maybe next year when we come back, just kind of give me some feedback. If you would ask 100 soldiers, 100 sailors, 100 airmen, when their service birthday was, birthday, date, and year, I would venture a guess you would get 30, 40, 50%. I would bet you a shiny nickel. You can ask 100 Marines, you can ask 1,000 Marines, you can ask 10,000 Marines the birthday, and they will immediately, 10 November 1775. It's one of those things that just makes us just a little bit different. Not better, just a little bit different. Once a Marine, always a Marine. Happy birthday, Marines. Semper Fidelis. Please keep your seat. We're going to finish up with the bagpipes. Scotland the Brave. Thank you very much. Happy birthday.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation by the Marines Memorial Association and Foundation. To become a member, donate, or learn more about our upcoming events, our programs, and our organization, please go to the Marines Memorial website at www.mmaf1946.org. Thank you for your support.